All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started on our causes of the Civil War test. This is also called the sectionalism test. All right, concentrate and let's do our best. Number 1, which of the following had the greatest impact on the outcome of the Civil War? A, economic differences between the Union and the Confederacy. C, religious differences between the Union and the Confederacy. Or D, the alignment of foreign allies with the Union or the Confederacy. So a couple things I want to point out here. When it says the word Union, I want you to think the Union is the same thing as the North. Let's see if I can write on here for you guys. So the Union is the same thing as the North. The Confederacy is the same thing as the South. So every time you see it in this question and this, or this answer choice and this answer choice and this one, the Union means the North, the Confederacy means the South, okay? So which difference between the North and the South was so important to the Civil War? Was it their economic differences? Was it their religious differences? Or did it have to do with foreign allies? All right. Number 2. And this question will probably help you answer number 1. Number 2 says regional economic activity in the United States in the early 1800s. The Northeast produced manufactured goods, the Midwest supplied food resources, and the South provided raw materials. What was one result of these regional differences? A, cities in the South emerged as centers for textile mills. B, immigrants settled in the Midwest to establish farms. Or C, slavery increased in the Northeast as industrialization expanded. Okay, if you're confused, the Midwest is the same thing as the West. All right, kiddos, let's take a look at number 3. On number 3, we see a chart titled The United States in 1850s, and I hope that you recognize this is the exact same chart that you had in your test review. So it starts with the region, North, South, and West. Then it goes to the economy, and it says that the factories ran their economy, that the North ran their economies in factories, that the South used plantations. We need to know, what did the West do? Let's see here. So what did the West do? Sorry guys, my drawing tool's not working very well. Okay, while I'm trying to get that going, do you remember that economy means money again? So how are they making money? Okay, so the North is making factories because they have lots of fast-flowing rivers. And the South, they have plantations because they have so much fertile soil for their cash crops. So what did the West do to make money and why? Okay, so let's look at our question now. Which economy and contributing factor best completes this table? A, large farms and slaves used for labor. C, mining, metal ores and minerals. Or D, ranching, railroads to transport cattle to market. Okay, figure out which one of those is the best way for the West to make money and why. Number 4, why did the economies of Western territories develop so differently from the economies of the Northeast and the South? B, the Western territories had natural harbors and many navigable rivers. C, the Western territories had rocky soil and a large supply of slave labor. Or D, the Western territories had inexpensive land and abundant natural resources. By the way, in answer choice D, inexpensive means cheap land and abundant means many natural resources. Okay, let's look at number 5. here we have a box with 3 different laws in it. We have the Missouri Compromise, the Compromise of 1850, and the Kansas-Nebraska Act. What was the fundamental question addressed in each of these congressional acts? In other words, how are these 3 laws the same? Okay, A, did they all say, should the U.S. expand westward? C, did they say, should slave labor be allowed in the new states? Or D, did they say, should states be able to secede from the Union? Okay, let's go ahead and turn the page to number 6, and we start with a little picture of a newspaper. And the title says, Congress passes the Fugitive Slave Act. Okay, let's think back. The Fugitive Slave Act. What does it mean if you're a fugitive? And what did that law say? Do you remember? The slaves would be running to the north, and what would happen? Okay, so after Congress passed this law, some things happened. So this question says, which of these directly resulted from the event announced in the headline? So what did it cause? A, the abolitionist movement gained A, the abolitionist movement gained momentum in the North, which means it got bigger in the North. B, members of the U.S. Senate sought to end black codes in the southern states. Or D, abolitionists moved to the South to avoid living under the new law. Number 7, which of the following was a result of the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854? And let me remind you, in the Kansas-Nebraska Act, they passed a law that said if you are in Kansas or in Nebraska, you guys are going to get to vote on whether or not to have slavery. And remember, there was a bunch of drama, and there was a man, and his name was John Brown, and he came in. Okay, so what was one of the results? A, fighting broke out between pro-slavery and anti-slavery groups in Kansas. B, Kansas entered the Union as a slave state through popular sovereignty in 1856. Or C, Nebraskan settlers who supported abolition moved to Kansas. All right, number 8. I'm not going to read every number on this chart, so I'm just going to kind of guide you through it. Our title says the 1860 census results for selected states. This word census means how many people live in your state. And down here we see Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, and Virginia. And I immediately noticed, oh my goodness, all of those states are in the South. Okay, so let's take a look. What is happening in this column to the percentage of slaves in the state? Okay, take a look at those. This data could be used to support which conclusion? B, states in the lower South had more land devoted to plantations. C, border states had to import needed raw materials. Or D, states in the upper South were heavily industrialized. Okay, we've made it to the last page. Yay! Okay, so on number 9, again, we have another chart. And the title is really important. It says enslaved populations of selected states. So that means the number of slaves in each state. Okay, and here we have another group of southern states: Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi. And then on this side, we have the years 1830 to 1850. Now, for this question, you need to remember that we divided the South into the upper South and the lower South. Think back to your vocab and the map we colored. Do you remember the map we colored on our test review? We colored some of the states green. That was the upper South. and some of the states red, and that was the lower South. Okay. Which statement best explains the changes shown in this table? A. Slaves from the upper South were moved to the lower South to work on cotton plantations. B. The upper South experienced an agricultural labor shortage in the antebellum period. D. The lower South lost population as settlers migrated west to establish plantations. Okay, guys, this is a big word. All it means is that they experienced a shortage of farm labor after the Civil War. That's all that means. Number 10. We have a speaker box in number 10. So let's look at what Speaker 1 said. Speaker 1 says a state has the right to overrule an act passed by Congress. After all, the national government is supposed to share power with the states. Ooh, overrule. That sounds familiar. Was there a state where they didn't like something like a tariff and then they decided to throw out the law? That would be like overruling a law. Okay, let's look at Speaker 2. I believe you are wrong. The states do share power with the national government, but the Constitution says that the national government has supremacy, which means this person says the national government is top dog. They are the boss. So these speakers are debating an issue that eventually became known as the A. Monroe Doctrine, B. Nullification Crisis, or C. Missouri Compromise.